Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Crossing Bridges Talk Show. I'm your host, Larry Montgomery Sr. This is my co-host, Will. Will, introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm William Montgomery, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Will is in a different time zone right now, on a different island right now,
Mhm.
enjoying the good weather down there in the, the DR. You know,
See,
all of that is all going on. But anyway, um, we want to continue our conversation this week on single black women. I know Will was unavailable last week. He was out spending those dollars, dineros I gave him before he left, and
yep.
so he's finally back. So, at least you're good about it. So I think what I have a short video, maybe 5 minutes, but what I want to try to do this week is to kind of show a little bit of it. We'll talk about it, then go on, break it into thirds, see how that works out for us.
Okay.
Um, Let me first set the stage with why is the number of single mothers increasing? Single parent households are on the rise as divorce, remarriage, and cohabitation take root. Today, there is no typical mother. As more women get more educated and exposed, advance their careers, and make more money, they are letting go of the traditional mindset of what constitutes a nuclear family. I have an article here that starts out Blacks struggle with 72% unwed, unwed mother rate. The debate is growing within and outside the Black community of how to address a rising rate of unwed mothers. Now, this is something that we've talked about over and over again, uh, mostly from the perspective of fatherlessness, Black fathers not being there. Um, the statistics are not necessarily changing, but are the definition of the statistics in that particular question is starting to change, starting to shift. So people aren't talking about fatherlessness as the father not being in the household raising the child. It's now starting to be modified to, well, co-parenting versus cohabitation. So your father may not be in your life, but there are other male figures within the village that are available to impact your life. Now, to me, that sounds like a lot of gobbledygook to avoid the truth of the matter is. If you have a child and you're not there with them, then, you know, you define it however you're going to define it. But the reality is what the reality is. The fact that there's a male neighbor and you got an uncle and a cousin and a grandfather like that there, they're not living in that household. Okay. So let me go on, unless you want to make a comment before I go on. You good?
Yeah, I mean, it's a touchy topic for some because in order to get to the root of the problem, we have to be honest with ourselves. And like I said, it's going to be a very difficult topic for some people to listen to and acknowledge the facts.
Well, what we're going to do is try to present some facts, and hopefully people start to get an understanding that change is in your hand. It's not about what the neighbors are saying, not about what social media is saying. It's about what you decide to do. We've talked about the image that commonly comes across the internet and television. You have a black woman and she's got one, two, three children, and there's no man in the picture. Well, it was a man in the picture who helped her make those three children or whatever, but for whatever reason, He doesn't love her. He liked her. It was a one night stand. He's married, supposedly getting divorced. Whatever the drama might be, he's just not there with her and or the child. And so that particular reality starts to become the path that people become accustomed to, the pathology, meaning that it's acceptable to have children and there's no male figure. The father is not there. I mean, there's one thing, yes, if they're dead on prison or whatever like that, there, yeah, those are reasons why they're not there. But anything else, you have to look at both people, the father and the mother, as to what were you thinking when you decided to lay down with this person and a baby, was made. I mean, if you lay down and you don't have protection, there's a strong possibility that a child is going to be, conceived. Um, all those times where it didn't happen does not guarantee that it ain't going to happen. And when it happens, now what do you do? Did you think about it? And if you thought about it, did you think about it from the perspective of what's best for the child as opposed to what's best for you and your lifestyle? So let me go on. 72% of black babies are born to unwed mothers, government excuse me, government statistics say, and changing that is a complex issue. Now, this particular author, I can't pronounce her name, I'm going to try, had her first child, 12-year-old Kayla. Wait a minute. I'm just going to get this one right. Skip it. Let me go on. I got a better article here. This one is more important. um, the unique pressures of black women to parent and provide. In our culture, women are expected to be mothers first and all else second. At least that's the excuse many make for the gender wage gap. Now, if you're married or financially stable enough for one parent to stay home, the system may work. But what about when it doesn't? But for many, particularly the black woman, this system and its expectations create major challenges. Black, while black women are significantly more likely to attend college than any other race of females compared to their male counterparts, they're still paid less. A strong matrimonial, mat, good grief, matriarchal structure causes black to be seen as the only female group that is more privileged than their male counterpart. But does this structure buffer us from other systematic disparities? The same matriarchal structure can result in a very different upbringing for males compared to females. Black women are encouraged to be self sufficient and educated, while black males are often permitted to take the scenic route to maturity. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, it's in society nowadays. It's no matter what men do, we're wrong. Women judge us. Other men who want to be friends with those women want to judge us. Oh yeah, that's a bad guy because he wants to protect you and take care of you and the family. He's trying to treat you like a piece of property. Instead of you know everybody has their job, but people don't realize it costs money to make money.
Hmm.
So when you leave the house, you have to have clothes, which have to be clean, which have to, you have to eat. You, your wife, everybody that works in the house generates a lot of money. But once you're paying to drive the car here or buy a second car, insurance, all these things pulls money out of the house. And nobody talks about that. They say, oh yeah, you're a woman, you're independent, You should be out there getting a job just like your man. He shouldn't keep you at home. But they don't understand the cost that it's bringing onto that family because now you got to pay for daycare if you have children. That's more money out of the house. So the industrial the the industrial complex that we've all been in is designed to make money. Every individual generates more money than they're getting paid. The only way that out of the matrix, so to speak, is if you're generating your own money in your own business. But as long as you're working for somebody, you might be generating 10 times the amount of money they're paying you, but you're spending money to generate that money for them. I mean, it's a cycle. It's all set up for money. So they incentivize women to leave their house, which is their comfort zone, to go out deal with other women or other men that are driving them crazy. Now they need medication. You know, they can't get along with their spouse because they're not spending time at home, and it's a deadly cycle for a family because the family's not going to survive. Two bosses bumping heads. Well, why don't you do it this way? Why don't you do it this way? Why don't you? I can't live with him. He can't live with me, and they split up. But who wins? You're still going to go out there and work. So the people who are employing you, they're still winning. You're not going to leave them. You'll leave your husband, or the husband will leave the wife before they'll leave their job. So the industrial complex keeps winning.
Okay, let me go on because I've got some points to add to what you're saying there. Where am I here? The result: black women are often forced to take the reins and lead the household themselves in today's progressive times. Um, it's not a bad thing, but when you're the primary breadwinner, as in many single parent homes, and are expected to be a full time mother, conflict conflict can occur. Are black women under increased pressure to parent and provide is the question. The research may indicate so, and the following factors together represent a unique set of circumstances that may affect black women's ability to do just that. The first thing on the list is wage disparities. Parenthood is challenging, but it can be increasingly difficult to be an effective parent when your earning potential is limited. Few areas illustrate this challenge like the gender wage gap. Recently, an analysis of weekly earnings found that black women make an average of $611, while black males earn $680 weekly. That means black women make 89.9% of what black men make. That sounds wonderful until we compare the numbers across racial lines. White women make 81.8% of what white men make, but their average weekly earnings are 734 and 897 for the white man. So now you're looking at um, the black female making $611, while the white female is making $734 a week on average, and the black male making $680 a week compared to $897 a week for a white male. Both white and Asian women have a higher weekly take home average than black and Hispanic males. Now I have this is a little dated here. In 2015, women in the United States made an estimated 80% of what men were paid. Factor race into the equation as the results are even more troubling. Thanks to the gender and race combo, African American females make an estimated 64 cents per every dollar a white male makes. Yeah.
Now, the problem with the so-called gender pay gap
Mhm.
is that there are a lot of factors that they're not putting into the question because there are a lot of people that are not being tracked on how much money they make because they're working off the books. So that those numbers aren't going to be in there. There's males in there, there's females in there, of different nationalities. So to when we look at these numbers, it's only what the government is attaining. You know, that guy that works on the street corner is not going to tell the government how much money he's making a week, a month, a day, a year, or in his whole lifetime. So the numbers we have to understand are skewed off rip because of that. Second, women don't choose the same professions that men choose. Like the engineers that go out there and work the big rigs in the oceans, women that go to college are not choosing those professions. And usually those guys out there, they may not even be college educated. Some of them probably are. Well, the engineers are, of course, but there are other people that work on the ships that aren't that well educated, but they're well paid. So the people that are not choosing these jobs is because those jobs don't interest them. If I go out there and I say, okay, well, I want to be a millionaire, I need to pick a profession that's going to garner that success. I can't go out there and say I'm gonna be an underwater basket weaver and I'll be a millionaire in 5 years because that's what I chose to do. And if I go to school for it, now I just paid money for education for a job that I can't generate the money that I want to make. And a lot of people do that. They go to school and they go into social services, which is not a bad profession, but you're not going to get rich in social services, male or female. You're not going to get rich. There are well paid nurses out there and well paid doctors, but a lot of women choose the medical field. But not all of them are doctors and not all of them are surgeons, so they're not getting top tier pay. And so when you start factoring the types of jobs that educated people are choosing, if they're choosing a job that they are comfortable with, which is fine, it may not pay them as well as they would like. I would like to get paid for underwater basketball even the same much money as Michael Jordan got paid for playing basketball, but it just not doesn't make sense. And that's what people are not factoring in when they look at these gender wage gaps. They're looking at, well, this guy's working, she's working. He's doing a dangerous job that he could be dead, if he messes up. She's over here sewing sheets together because she likes to make, dresses and tables. She could be doing the same job he's doing, but she chooses not to. Because, like we said, women could do the same thing that men could do. Some of them say they could do it better, but they still choose not to do those professions. So they're not garnering that amount of money that they're wanting to get.
Okay, let me go on because we're going to get to some information on that in a minute. But first, let's talk about the family structure. For those in multi income households, the struggles of the gender wage gap can be buffered, but current cultural trends reflect an increase in single parent homes and a delay of marriage across all races. As a result, single mothers are significantly more likely to live in poverty, with 67% of black children born into non married homes. Non married meaning two single parents, not fatherless. Black fathers are as, if not more, active than fathers of other races. It does not take long to see room for challenges. 40% of single parents are employed in low wage jobs. The median income for single mothers is $26,000 as compared to $84,000 median income for married couples. The working poor have an independent set of struggles to overcome. Female headed working families account for 39% of low income working households nationally, but 65% of African American low income working households are led by women. 4 of 10, 40% of black families with children under 18 that were headed by single working mothers live in poverty. Families headed by white females reflect a figure of 14.5% living below the poverty line. Now, as you were talking, Will, I want to make some comments there, again from this article, are career choices and lack of benefits. Ah, for Black women, overrepresentation in conditions of poverty and work ethic have no relation. Black women have historically been made been more likely to be employed or actively looking for employment than any other group by race and gender. The most recent assessment of the labor force includes 62% of black women as compared to 57.5% of white women. One reason for wage disparities in the black community can be accounted for by college major and choice of profession. This is going directly to what you were talking about, Will. Women are more than overrepresented in low wage jobs. As a matter of fact, more than half of low wage working women are employed in 16 occupations, the highest concentration of these professions being health aides, a career with an average wage of $10 per hour or $21,000 per year. Now keep that in mind. This is significantly less than the $46,000 national average wage across all occupations. Nearly 40% of health aid positions are filled by black women. It's also important to mention these jobs often do not offer the benefits, paid leave, health insurance, retirement plans, and that many higher skilled jobs offer. Health aides and similar positions are very valuable within society, but compensation packages for these workers fail to represent the value, fail to represent that value. So, yeah, there are a lot of moving parts in this whole conversation. And, I'm not trying to be a professor of all of this stuff here, but sometimes we have to actually look specifically at our own personal situation and then look out and say, well, is this what I'm seeing with me really working well for me? You know, I might choose to be a home health aide because I like helping people. And I don't think that I have the brain power to be a doctor. Okay. Or I could not afford to go to college to be a doctor, but I still want to help people. So here's one way to do it: become a home health aide. But as you point out, you're not going to make doctor dollars as a home health aide. So there's a challenge, you know. And again, as we talk about fatherlessness and single uh, parent, single women, households, money's important. You know, if it's husband and wife, they have the opportunity to have two incomes coming in, so they're going to live better. Right? Any other comment before I go to the next topic?
Well, because I was in a relationship with somebody that worked in the home health care field, and it's it's an honorable profession, but I think they take advantage of them because they're most of the women, because there's some men in there in that profession too. Most of the people that go into that profession, they want to help people, they care about people, and that's an honorable thing. The only problem is that profession, the people that control that profession, generate a lot of money off of their backs.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
if you're getting paid $10 an hour, the people who are managing them are
Mm-hmm.
not getting paid $10 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to be in that field, you should work to try to advance in that field, go from a worker to a manager to an owner of your own company, because the people are out there that need help. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? But they don't want you to do that. They don't want you to, they don't want to pay you enough to gather more information for you to leave their under their thumb.
Well,
You
let's
know,
see. What you're making a good point. The problem is, well, not problem, but the point. This conversation is going out to single black mothers, meaning that when you weren't a mother, young lady, girl, whatever, you can make decisions on your education. Say, okay, well, I don't think I'm smart enough to be a doctor, a surgeon, but I like helping people. But then again, are you really, really sure that you're not smart enough to become a doctor? Okay. You can become a lab technician. You can become a researcher. You can become home health aide. You know, you at that point when it's just you have the option of deciding, look, well, I'm just going to put in more hours a day studying, or I'm going to, whatever I got to do to make it to that particular level in that profession. You had something you want to say?
I think the in the industry, the industrial complex out there benefits off of people's self doubt. So if when I went into the military, I went to the military because I was like, well, I don't think I'm ready for college. I was like, I'll go into the military, give them 4 years. Hopefully, by the time I get out, then I'll go to college because I'll be more mature.
Mhm.
Well, in life, you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. You know, anything could happen to me in those 4 years. I could have not made it out. I could have, you know, anything.
Mhm.
So because of my self doubt, I went into something I felt was secure.
Mhm.
Military. It
Mhm.
was,
Mhm.
thankfully. Um, I did gave 4 years, but then when it was time for me to finish my 4 years, I didn't have the confidence that there was a career out there because everybody was talking about, man, there's no jobs out there. There's no jobs out there. So I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to stick with what I know. I got a guaranteed check here. So I re-enlisted.
Mhm.
If now some people, they did their 4 years and they were like, oh, well, they're gonna pay me $200,000 when I get out the military because of what I learned in the military.
Mhm.
Some might have done that. Some might have fell short on that. The
Mhm.
thing is, we don't know what tomorrow brings, but we're
Mhm.
always going to do what we're comfortable with. So if you're comfortable doing something and you're saying, well, I I love taking care of people. I'm just going to take care of people. Sometimes it's not good to stay in your comfort zone. Sometimes you
Well,
got to push yourself a little bit more.
well, you make a good point there, and what came to my mind as you were talking, since I am your father and
Mhm,
was your father then, uh,
mhm,
I had the desire for you in my mind what I wanted to see you do. However, it wasn't for me. The culture I came from was not to push down on you what I wanted you to do. Okay,
mhm.
not make you be what I wanted you to be. Um, I saw that you had the opportunity of being a professional football player. All right, that wasn't what you wanted to do. Okay, so instead of instead of me trying to force my opinion on you, I just backed up and let it be. Now, I say that because it's a cultural thing. In other cultures, you would have wound up doing exactly what I told you to do, and you'd be happy. In my mind,
Mhm. But
you
I mean,
know.
and in all actuality, um, a lot of cultures are successful because of that. Even though their children may not be specifically happy with their profession or the education level, when they look back, they're not struggling as much as people who are left to their own devices. When
Yeah.
you leave children to their own devices, yeah, they might seem happy, but are they really in the best position to? Because once you're established, you can then make decisions whether you want to go right, left, or whatever. But
Mhm.
if you're not established, you can't make no decisions. But well, I guess I got to keep doing this because I have no other choices,
Yeah.
and that's what people need to learn. Is like the more I learn, the more choices I have. So if I go out there and learn everything, I can say, well, I want to be a fisherman, or I want to be an engineer, or I want to be a professional baseball player, football player, whatever. And but people, like I said, they get in their comfort zone. They say, well, I only know this. You have a lot of women that want to be in the makeup industry. Every woman, if you meet women today, every woman's doing hair, nails, makeup, clothing design. Everybody wants to do that because it's comfortable for them. It comes natural to them. But it's not all the easy route is not always the best route. You know.
Well, the point is, and you know, uh, you're not wrong in what you're saying. The point is that when you look back over your life, you want to be happy. You want to feel good about what you did. You did what you wanted to do, what you like to do, what you're comfortable with. Okay, no, I didn't make the three or $400,000 a year doing it, but I enjoyed what I was doing. I was helpful to other people. I was creative. I enjoyed what I did, whatever. And so these are choices that you make. Hopefully, because you come from a home with both the father and the mother's perspective, you have an opportunity to see, well, this is what I like to do. But in understanding what my mother and father have been through or seen or whatever, and the things that they told me about, I might want to think, might want to think about that again before I commit to it. Um, because at counsel, wise counsel is a good thing. I'm not saying, you have to do what they say in this society or in this culture. But I'm saying the more information you get, as you were pointing out, the more information you get, the better decisions that you can make. And so there's one more point I want to make before we get to the video, because I want to get that in here before it's too late. And that's on childcare costs, because that's an important piece in this whole wage conversation. The average cost of daycare in the United States is $11,666 annually, or a staggering $972 per month. It is not difficult to see why any parent would think twice before placing their child in daycare. Now imagine the obstacle this creates for single, low income mothers, particularly one with a $21,000 annual take home pay. To avoid the cost of childcare, many mothers elect to stay at home to raise their children themselves. This is a wonderful option for those who can afford it. But for the estimated 12 million single parents in the United States, 80% of which are single mothers, this luxury is too expensive to afford. Childcare takes well over 25% of monthly income for many, and there are still other expenses such as food, housing, and transportation that need to be accounted for. Culturally and socially, and societally, I'm sorry, Black women are expected to choose financial contribution over parenting. And there's more to that, but what I want to do is I want to get this video in, because the point of this video is to give women an understanding of the term, the phrase, baby mama.
Mm-hmm.
You see, we use it, but we really don't understand what we're saying to those who don't understand what we think we're talking about. Let me put that in here.
Baby mamas, Kylie Jenner, and the racialized perception of single motherhood. Kylie Jenner is trying to reclaim the label baby mama. But is that term even hers to reclaim? Baby mama, a term used to describe the mother of a child whose father she is not with, was popularized through African American vernacular English. But throughout recent years, the designation of baby mama has become more common in the general American lexicon, making its way into music and movies. The term has some negative connotations, namely that the mama in question only has a purely sexual relationship with the baby's father and that she is not the chosen partner of the man she shares a child with. Though it has been recontextualized with a more positive bent in recent years, baby mama continues to be considered a dismissive or even offensive label, especially for Black women. Baby mama is a controversial term due to the fact that it plays with two all too familiar anti-Black stereotypes, the absent father and the welfare queen. Through the absent father stereotype, Black men are deemed too irresponsible or criminal to remain with their families, leaving behind their baby mamas to raise their kids. Despite the fact that 72% of Black children are born to unmarried mothers, another statistic is frequently ignored: the majority of Black men do remain with their children. The welfare queen label is pushed onto Black single mothers and demonizes them for asking for government assistance. This generalization goes back to the 1960s, when politicians sought to portray those in poverty as freeloaders. Combined with the stereotype of Black female promiscuity, Black welfare queens are painted as women who irresponsibly get pregnant in order to gain more money from the state or do so to get rich off of the father's child support. The myths of the welfare queen and the absent father intersect to tell a disparaging story about Black single motherhood, or baby mamas. Despite increased usage of the term, it is still heavily associated with Black women. Professor Dr. Maya Hoskin, who is married, recalled a moment in her office when she was flippantly called a baby mama by one of her white colleagues in a Madame Noir article. A 2008 Fox News segment referred to Michelle Obama as Obama's baby mama. Twitter user @IndiaRoyalip says it best: "Y'all notice when people talk about Black women, we're always the baby mama. But when they talk about other races, it's girlfriend or ex." Kylie Jenner, a member of the Kardashian clan of reality TV stars and beauty mogul, welcomed her second child with Travis Scott last month. Both Kylie and her older sister Khloe Kardashian fit the definition of a baby mama. Neither of them are in a current relationship with the father of their child. Yet they have escaped the negative notions attributed to being an unmarried mother. All it took was for Kylie Jenner to wear a baby mama necklace to Coachella for her to be praised by Bustle for reclaiming the title. A Plan W magazine cover story featuring Kylie and Travis, that was scrapped due to the Astroworld tragedy, described how their unmarried status is a powerful example of a family operating on their own terms. It could be argued that the visibility and praise of Kylie's single motherhood is a win for all baby mamas, but the reality is that this newfound love for the baby mama lifestyle still leaves Black women behind. Kylie is a wealthy white woman who can afford to give her children everything they need, as well as afford full-time help. Her version of single motherhood is glamorous because of her wealth, not because her and Travis have mastered the art of co-parenting. Kylie's whiteness also allows her to bypass any of the racial implications the baby mama label has. For Kylie, being a baby mama is just another aspect of her trendy or unconventional lifestyle. But for Black women, being seen as a baby mama comes with a long history of racist and classist assumptions about single motherhood. The disparity in how white and Black baby mamas are perceived is yet another example of the way white women get to benefit from the same stereotypes that demean Black women. Kylie may be able to reclaim the baby mama label with pride, but ultimately, it's her privilege that allows her to do so. Thanks for watching.
Okay, that said a lot.
Mhm.
So being called a baby mama is not necessarily a pretty thing. But there were two things in there I wanted to quickly touch on. The point about Black women getting pregnant and having a baby without being married because they want to partake of the welfare system and or the child support, those many dollars that the father is going to have to break off every month. If that ain't a crack of bullshit, I don't know what is. Because welfare, if it wasn't for poor people, there'd be a heck of a lot of white people out of work. Okay, there are more people on working in the welfare department making thousands of dollars a year only because these few poor people come in and beg for the few hundreds of dollars that they get every year. And most of that goes to rent or food. So there it ain't no living high in the hog just because you're on welfare. Trust me.
Well,
And yeah, go
I
ahead.
got to push back on that a little bit because, black people are a small minority in America. There are a lot of white people that are on welfare too. So the negative stigmatization, the negative stigma that's associated with the baby mama came from black people. We started that. You know what I'm saying? How we talk to our women, how we talk about our women is why it's so popular because it's been put in the music. Anything negative about black people is propagated through the whole society, through the whole world, because that's what they think of us. So we're adding to our own demise as far as image, because we go, we're not buying the music. Most people are downloading it. Let's be real. Black markers is big in the black community. So we're not paying for this music most of the time. Is white folks that's buying our music, listening to how we talk about our women, degrade them, call them this, call them that, whatever. How we talk about each other, shoot them up, kill them, do this, that, and the other, and they think that that's how we are. We, how we, how we interact with each other on a daily basis, they don't see that. They don't see that, there's a lot of black men that got love for their brother. They don't see that. They don't put that in music. They don't put the love and the respect in the music because that don't sell. Everything negative, movies, it sells movies, it sells music, it sells everything. It's big on TikTok, it's big on social media, it's big on everything because that sensationalization that they do, that they put out there, is there to generate money. It's there to generate traffic. And the people of other nationalities are using it as a commodity. It's like, okay, well, these people going to do this, and these other people going to pay for it. You know what? I'm gonna get my bread. They're about their money. We're about, well, I need to prove myself and this, that, and the other, and I got to spend money to look rich when I can be investing in myself and my family and doing something better. Either investing in my education. You know, we don't talk about that stuff, and when we do talk about it, it's not publicized like it should. It's only, oh well, yeah, they had a conference. Back to shoot them up, bang bang, and that's what they think, and it sells, it makes money for them.
Well, I think the root of that whole conversation is embedded in money making. Because if we as a people, um, we know that the sensationalism and the stuff that we sing about and all that kind of stuff in movies or whatever that are made about us, that's all made up. That's not necessarily the reality. However, a lot of folks, black folks, buy into it as being the reality,
Mm-hmm.
okay, which doesn't help the situation. If we as people started focusing on what makes sense and what is good sense, we'll stop making music like that. Or we'll definitely understand the difference between this music I made is for those folks to spend money on and give me money so I can do the right thing in my household. I mean, when I came up, we used to watch programs like Andy Griffin, you know, um, Father Knows Best, um, stuff like that there, Mayberry and all that. These were people trying to do the right thing, okay, um, and living a lifestyle that made sense. But sensationalism and the desire to keep black people in their place and to show black people as not worthy of being considered responsible citizens in this country, um, all these other things started to pop up, you know. And we had the conversation about rap music and the fact that it says one thing what comes out of the artist's mouth, but supposedly the underlying ideal behind it is telling our story. This is what happens in the neighborhood because of poverty, because of you know um, a desire to not conform to what society is telling us or whatever. What's right is right. I don't care if you're living in England, living in Africa, or living in China. What's right is right. Foolishness is foolishness. Somebody wants to pay you to act foolish. You need to understand that that's a job. After work, I go home and I do what I know I'm supposed to do. I don't go to the strip club 4 or 5 days out the week with dollar bills thrown at somebody's behind because they ain't gonna do nothing but get me in trouble.
Well,
And
but,
you know,
I didn't mean that, but I was gonna say, but that's what the matrix is. Is you go out, you do this stuff, and you get a whole lot of money. Then you go and you do this, and it's showing the young folks that that's what we're supposed to do. That's what life's about. And if there's no father there, the mother's at work. They're seeing this on their phone, on the TV, everywhere. They hear it from their friends. They're like, well, that's how I gotta be. So I could be cool. So I could be in and this thing because they don't have that nuclear home, that's giving them the support to say, no, it's fabricated. That's movie, that's TV, that's smoke and mirrors. That's not how life is. You don't have to be like that. You're going to school so that you can be the guy behind the camera. You're going to school that you can be the guy that owns the movie theater, or the one that owns the movie. You know, you got to understand that that's not what life is about. That's not what they're showing. These are caricatures. These are not real people. And if they are real people out there doing this, they don't have a long life in front of them. But nobody's teaching them. Nobody's teaching kids this, so they're going out in the streets and they're living what they're seeing on TV or hearing on the radio, and that's not benefiting the culture.
I guess Charlie's agreeing with you. You know. Anyway, um, I think we've hit a number of points here. Just to give people some food for thought. That sometimes we can blame everybody else for our situation, but sometimes you got to stop and look at yourself in the mirror and say, well, how am I contributing to this? What could I do differently to make a difference? And sometimes, or a lot of times, what you do is not necessarily going to make a major impact today. But somewhere down the road, you keep doing the right thing, somebody going to pick up on it. Or at least they'll say when you leave here, that guy did the right thing. You know? So anyway, let me let you give your closing remarks if Charlie's calmed down, and
Yeah.
then we'll get on up out of here.
All right. Well, we would like to extend the opportunity for our viewers to make recommendations for topics for us to discuss, or if you'd like to be on the panel, please hit us up in the comment section, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Great. And we'll see you again next week, God willing, and the creek don't rise.